Let's talk about artificial intelligence. It's easily one of the most powerful tools we have ever created. But it's also it's this technology of huge contradictions. It's an incredible tool, for sure, but it can also be a trap. So how are we supposed to navigate all that? Let's break it down.
Okay, think about it this way. On one hand, AI is our best new shield in the world of cybersecurity, spotting threats in real time before we even know they're there. But on the other hand, it's a devastatingly powerful new weapon for criminals, letting them cook up attacks that are more clever and convincing than anything we've ever seen before.
We kind of look to AI to be this perfect, objective judge, right? To get rid of human error and just make decisions based on the data. But what happens when the data we feed it is already packed with our own historical prejudices? Well, it can accidentally learn and even crank up the volume on those same unfair biases.
So yeah, it's clearly a tool and a trap. In this explainer, we're going to unpack that whole duality. We'll dig into how AI works, where its biggest weak spots are, and most importantly, what this all means for us.
To really get a handle on AI, we have to start by understanding its fundamental and honestly, sometimes really surprising limitations. It's brilliant, no doubt, but it is far from perfect.
I love this quote. It just perfectly gets to the heart of one of AI's weirdest flaws. You see, unlike a person who might say, I'm not really sure, an AI will often present completely made-up information with the exact same level of confidence as it would proven facts. It doesn't know what it doesn't know.
And this whole phenomenon, it actually has a name, AI hallucination. And that analogy of an over-eager friend is just perfect. The AI's main goal is to give you an answer, not necessarily the right answer. So it just fills in the gaps with stuff that sounds plausible but is totally fabricated. That's a huge flaw you've got to be aware of.
So, this brings us to maybe the clearest example of AI's two faces, the cyber battlefield. In the world of cybersecurity, AI is locked in this constant tug of war, acting as both the weapon and the shield.
And this lays it out perfectly. For the criminals, AI is a massive force multiplier. We're talking malware that can change itself to avoid detection and phishing emails that are so realistic they're almost impossible to spot. But for the defenders, AI is like this sleepless guardian, an always-on shield that can spot weird behavior and shut down new threats before a human even grabs their morning coffee.
Let's just zoom in on one of those threats for a second. AI-enhanced phishing. Now, this is not your grandpa's phishing email, the one with all the typos and weird grammar. No, AI can analyze massive amounts of data to perfectly copy the writing style of your CEO or your IT department, creating these scarily convincing messages designed to trick you.
So how in the world do you protect yourself? Well, there are 4 key signs to look for. First up, language. Even with the powerful AI, sometimes the tone or the phrasing just feels a little off. Trust your gut on that. Second, suspicious links. Pro tip, always hover your mouse over a link to see where it's really going before you click. Third, information requests. Your bank, your IT department, they're almost never going to ask for your password over email. Be super skeptical. And finally, a sense of urgency. Attackers love to create panic so you act before you think. If an email is screaming act now, just take a deep breath and slow down. But remember, AI is also the shield here. Defensive AI systems are always learning what normal looks like on a computer network. So when something deviates from that, like a user suddenly trying to access files they never touch, the AI can flag it instantly. And this is huge. It can spot brand new malware not by its name, but by its behavior. It can even automatically quarantine a hacked computer, stopping an attack dead in its tracks.
All right, so we've gone from the clear-cut good versus evil of cybersecurity to something a lot more subtle and a lot more human. The problem of bias. We really want our machines to be objective, but can they be if we, the people who build them, aren't?
Let me ask you a question. It's a little thought experiment. Let's say you build an AI to approve bank loans. You train it on decades of the bank's real-world decisions. Now, if that history is filled with patterns of discrimination, what do you think the AI is going to learn to do?
Yup, you guessed it. It learns to discriminate. The AI has no concept of fairness or ethics. It only understands patterns in data. So it will learn to copy that historical discrimination. And it might end up denying loans to perfectly qualified people just because the biased data taught it that folks from a certain neighborhood or background are a higher risk. The bias gets automated and it gets amplified.
So where does this stuff even come from? Well, it's a few things. The most obvious is biased data, like we just talked about, but it can also come from incomplete data. For instance, maybe a hiring AI only looks at resumes and misses out on crucial hands-on experience. The algorithm itself can even be biased if it's designed to give more weight to certain things. And finally, AI can learn bias just by interacting with us and our own flawed communication.
And this whole mess leads us straight into the next major challenge, trying to cram this revolutionary technology into legal and ethical boxes that were built for a completely different world. It's a maze out there.
Let's start with a question that sounds simple but has incredibly complicated answers for law and creativity. When a generative AI spits out a beautiful painting or a catchy song, who owns it? Who's the real artist?
Well, under current U.S. copyright law, things get weird. A human creator, simple. They own their work. But the law specifically says an author has to be human, so a piece of art generated entirely by an AI can't be copyrighted. This leaves the whole ownership question in this huge, confusing legal gray area. Is it the programmer, the person who wrote the prompt? The law just has not caught up.
And this lack of clarity isn't just about art. It's about decisions that really affect our lives. That's where this important new idea, the right to explanation, comes in. The idea is simple. If an AI denies you a loan, or a job, or some essential service, you should have the right to know why. You should be able to understand the logic the system used, because that's the only way you can challenge a decision that might be totally unfair.
And honestly, these are just the first few waves of a legal tsunami. We're facing huge hurdles. Legislation moves at a snail's pace, while AI develops at the speed of light. It's global, so whose laws even apply? And it keeps creating brand new problems we've never thought of before, like who's at fault when a self-driving car crashes. And at the very center of it all is the billion-dollar question, who really owns all the data that fuels this entire revolution?
Okay, so after hearing about all these challenges, you might be thinking, what can we actually do? Well, this last part is all about that. We're shifting from the problems to the practical steps we can all take to be more responsible users and advocates for this tech.
Here it is, your 5-step action plan. Number 1, stay informed. This field is changing every single day, so just make it a habit to keep up. 2, cross-validate. This one is so important. Always treat AI output like a first draft, not the final word. Double-check its facts. 3, be a champion. Speak up. Advocate for ethical AI at your job. Ask the tough questions. 4, keep learning. You don't have to become a coder, but just understanding the basics makes you a much smarter user. And finally, number 5, team up. Talk about this stuff with your friends and colleagues. Share what you learn. Let's build a culture of using AI responsibly, together.
At the end of the day, AI isn't some strange alien intelligence that just showed up. It's a mirror. It reflects the data we give it, the goals we set for it. It learns from our history, our conversations, our art, and yes, our biases. So the biggest question isn't really what AI is going to do. It's what are we choosing to teach it? What version of humanity do we want it to reflect back at us?